Have you ever stopped to think why God doesn't just destroy Satan once and for all? After all, he is the Almighty. He created the heavens, the earth, and can put an end to evil with just one word. But the devil keeps acting, accusing, destroying homes, killing innocents, seducing souls, and worst of all, with God's permission. Does that bother you? Because it bothers a lot of people. The truth is, behind this apparent divine delay, there is a frighteningly logical answer, and at the same time, a deeply spiritual one, an answer that can change the way you see the very time of your life. In this video, you will understand why God has not yet destroyed Satan or the fallen angels, and what this reveals about the future of humanity and your own. But prepare yourself, because what you are about to hear may shake everything you thought you knew about good and evil. But first, if you trust that God has already decreed victory over evil, write in the comments, God's justice never fails. All of us at some point have asked ourselves, if God is good, why does so much evil still happen in the world? Why do children die of hunger? Why are homes destroyed by addiction and betrayal? Why does cancer strike even those who pray the most? And where is God while all of this happens? Pain screams, and the silence of heaven seems deafening. It is in that silence that many lose their faith. But what few realize is that this silence is also an answer. The Bible does not hide the existence of evil. On the contrary, it presents it with a face, a name, and a role: Satan, which literally means accuser. He appears in heaven before God, in Job 1, to challenge the faithfulness of a righteous man. In Zechariah 3, he reappears to accuse the high priest. And in Revelation 12, he is described as the one who accuses the children of God day and night. This means the devil is not just loose, he is active, operating, in full motion. That is disturbing. But even more unsettling is realizing that all of this is happening with the knowledge and within the limits of God himself. How so? That raises an even deeper question. Is God waiting for something? And what if that wait is not weakness, but part of a greater plan? A plan that involves more than just punishing evil, but revealing something to the entire universe. The truth is, there is a reason for God's temporary tolerance towards Satan, and it has nothing to do with powerlessness. Quite the opposite, it has everything to do with authority, justice, and patient sovereignty. God is not being defeated. He's waiting for the exact moment. But while that moment hasn't arrived, evil continues to wreak havoc. And the question that explodes inside us is, why? Why allow so much pain for so long? What's at stake is much bigger than just our human understanding. There is something behind the curtain of eternity, and that changes everything. And what happened in heaven before all of this helps us understand a lot. Before Eden existed, before the first human sin, evil had already been born. And it was born in the most unlikely place in the universe, heaven, among the angels, inside the heart of a creature created by God. His name was Lucifer, bearer of light, perfect in beauty, wise, blameless. He wasn't created evil. On the contrary, he was the reflection of divine beauty. But something happened. Ezekiel 28 says, "You were perfect in your ways from the day you were created, until iniquity was found in you." And that iniquity had a name: pride. Isaiah 14 reveals the cry of rebellion. "I will ascend to heaven, above the stars of God. I will be like the Most High." Lucifer didn't want to just serve. He wanted to rule. And with seductive words and disguised smiles, he convinced a third of the angels to follow his new plan of freedom. It was the first blow against the throne of God. But here's the question. Why didn't God destroy Lucifer and the fallen angels immediately? He could have. Just one word and everything would be gone. But that would create another problem. Fear would replace love. Imagine if a king, when questioned by a servant, ordered him to be executed in front of everyone, without trial, without explanation. He would be feared, but never loved again. Those who remained wouldn't serve out of conviction, but out of terror. God knew this, and that's why he allowed the rebellion to continue, so that Satan's character could be fully revealed. And more, so that his own character could also be known. The conflict was no longer just celestial, it became cosmic. Heaven would never be the same again, and earth would become the stage where this spiritual war would be exposed to the entire universe. But God was not silent. He already had a plan, and that plan included something no one expected. The question that echoes is simple. If God is omnipotent, why doesn't he just end Satan now? Simple. Because God is not only powerful, he is just. And justice is not imposed through violence, it is manifested through evidence. God is not a tyrant who executes without explanation. He is a holy judge who allows evil to reveal itself before the final verdict. That's why, even having all the power, God chose not to act by force, but by authority. There's a difference. Force imposes, authority convinces, and God wants the entire universe to see who Satan really is and who he truly is. That takes time, and it takes exposure. Remember, the problem Lucifer raised wasn't just about government, but about character. He insinuated that God was controlling, unjust, oppressive. If God had destroyed him right there, all the angels would be left with doubt. What if Lucifer was right? The seed of distrust would sprout. So God does something only a true king can do. He allows the accuser to speak, to act, to operate. And with time, evil itself would reveal its most cruel face, and no one would doubt the heart of God again. This is not divine weakness. This is just patience, an attribute few understand. In 2 Peter 3:9 it is written, "The Lord is not slow in keeping his promise, as some understand slowness. Instead, he is patient, not wanting anyone to perish." In other words, the waiting time is mercy so that all may see the truth. But there is something even deeper. This wait is not only for evil to be revealed, it is for good to shine more intensely. The greatest proof of that? The cross. Satan thought he was winning when he brought Christ to death. But it was there, on that cross, that God's character was laid bare before the universe. Love, justice, and grace united in a single scene. The innocent lamb dying for the guilty, and evil exposed in its most brutal form. But even after that, Satan keeps acting. Why? Because there is still one final stage of judgment, and it already has a set date. Satan is already condemned. This is not a hypothesis, it is a sentence. Jesus was clear in Matthew 25:41, "Depart from me, you cursed, into the eternal fire prepared for the devil and his angels." The lake of fire was not created for human beings, but for spiritual rebels. The enemy's fate is already sealed. What remains is the time of execution. And here is the crucial point. God is not in a hurry, because his judgment is not just about punishment, it's about teaching. He wants every rational being, humans, angels, and the whole universe, to understand the consequences of rebellion beyond all doubt. A mistake judged without clarity can be repeated, but a mistake exposed with truth will never be desired again. Revelation shows us that Satan will still be cast to earth with great wrath, knowing that he has but a short time. He knows he is defeated, but he wants to take as many with him as he can. He has no redemption, but he wants to prevent yours. And that's where God's most surprising purpose comes in. Even using time to judge Satan, he also uses that same time to save man. In the midst of chaos, God is still rescuing, saving, freeing. Because when evil is fully exposed, many finally see the beauty of what is good. But pay attention, this time is limited. The sentence is already decreed, and there will come a day when the court will be set. Daniel 7 describes this scene. The judge sat, and the books were opened. Nothing will be forgotten. No injustice, no tear, no abuse. Every act of Satan, his angels, and those who followed him will be brought to light. The entire universe will witness, not out of revenge, but out of justice. And at that moment, every creature will see that God was never passive. He was patient, that God was never weak. He was wise, and that evil, no matter how attractive it seems, ends in destruction. But what comes after the judgment is even more shocking, because the very universe will enter a new cycle, and the story of evil will never be repeated. Have you ever thought that your life is being watched by beings you cannot see? The Bible is clear. There is a great controversy being witnessed by the entire universe. 1 Corinthians 4:9 reveals, "We have been made a spectacle to the world, both to angels and to men." This means the stage of earth is more than physical, it is spiritual. The drama that began in heaven with Lucifer's rebellion is now unfolding before invisible eyes, and with every human choice, every inner battle between good and evil, there is an angelic audience watching. But what's on trial is not just mankind, it is the very character of God. Satan accused the Creator of being unjust, of manipulating obedience through fear, of being unable to forgive. But then came the cross, and there, before the whole universe, God answered the accusations with blood. John 12:31-32 says, "Now is the judgment of this world. Now the prince of this world will be cast out, and I, if I am lifted up from the earth, will draw all people to myself." The cross was not just an act of salvation, it was an eternal testimony of who God is, just, holy, but at the same time willing to die for the creature who betrayed him. Nothing answered Satan's lies more powerfully than that moment. And even so, God did not destroy the accuser immediately. Why? Because justice must not only be done, but be recognized as just. The universe is learning, the angels are watching, and you are part of this living proof. Your suffering, your faithfulness, your struggle against sin, all of it is a declaration. God is worthy of trust. And when that truth is clear to all creatures, visible and invisible, the final judgment will be fulfilled, and rebellion will never rise again. Evil will be extinguished, not just by force, but by universal conviction. But until then, time goes on. And the same time God gave to Satan, he has also given to you. If God is giving time, what are you doing with yours? Because the same time he is using to expose Satan, he is also using to save you. It is a time of mercy, of opportunity, of choice. But many are living as if judgment will never come, as if God's silence were approval, as if there was still plenty of time. And that is exactly the trap, forgetting that we are living in the final chapters of an invisible war. You may not see the spiritual battles around you, but they exist, and more than that, they are inside you. Every decision between forgiving or taking revenge, between praying or giving up, between surrendering to God or to sin, all of it is a statement before heaven. The entire universe is watching, not to accuse you, but to see if there is truth in you, faith, surrender, genuine love. That is why God has not yet destroyed Satan, because while he acts, God also acts, touching hearts, restoring families, calling children back home. The time that remains is a gift, but it has a limit, and when it ends, the court will be final. So don't waste the minutes you have with empty distractions. The time of God's patience is also the time of your salvation, and whoever ignores this may discover too late that they were fighting on the wrong side. To conclude, reflect. Imagine a silent courtroom, a throne of light at the center, thousands of angels all around, and every eye fixed on a single book being opened. Nothing moves, nothing is hidden. This is the scene described in Daniel 7. A moment when time ends and eternity begins. And in that instant, the judgment that many doubted finally takes place. Satan and his angels will be destroyed. But before that, every being will have seen the justice of God shine brighter than the sun. Close your eyes and imagine yourself now in that courtroom. What would be written about you in that book? What has your life testified before heaven? Because the time of waiting is ending, and the seal of the end is already being broken. If this message spoke to your heart, tap like, as if you were raising your hand before the throne. Share it with someone you love, as if you were throwing them a rope of salvation. And if you haven't subscribed yet, do it now, as someone who chooses to be part of the people who do not bow to evil, because the time to decide is now. That's it for today, and may God bless you.